You know, it started on one of those sunny Florida mornings where the humidity sticks to you like a bad habit. And my wife Sarah was out in the yard, kneeling by the hibiscus bushes in her old faded tank top, wiping sweat from her brow while she yanked at some stubborn weeds. Nothing out of the ordinary for a high school English teacher who spends her weekends grading papers and dreaming up lesson plans on Shakespeare. But then she spotted this bright orange notice slapped on our chain link fence, bold letters yelling about some violation. Our backyard shed was apparently 3 inches too close to the property line, and if we didn't fix it pronto, fines would pile up like unpaid bills. Sarah, being the smart one in our marriage, 15 years with a guy like me, a retired Marine who'd seen his share of dust-ups overseas, pulled out her phone right away, muttering under her breath, "No way we're swallowing this without proof." Because that's her thing. Always documenting, always thinking 2 steps ahead, like she does with her rowdy sophomores. That's when these two goons showed up, striding across our lawn like they owned the damn place, wearing these cheap tactical vests with neighborhood watch patches that looked like they came from a costume shop. Big guy named Rocco with a gut straining against his zipper, and his sidekick Lenny, all wiry muscles and a smirk that screamed overcompensation. "Ma'am, cease recording immediately. This is official enforcement," Rocco barked, trying to sound like a drill sergeant, but coming off more like a wannabe from a bad cop show. Sarah didn't budge, kept her phone steady, her voice calm as a summer breeze. "This is private property, gentlemen, and you're already on camera. Smile if you want." Lenny's face twisted, his fist balled up tight, and before I could even process it from the kitchen window, he swung hard, connecting with her jaw in a sickening crack that echoed down Palm Grove Drive. Sarah's head snapped back, blood trickling from her lip, her phone tumbling into the grass but still rolling, capturing every ugly second as she staggered, eyes wide with that raw shock of betrayal. Because who the hell punches a teacher over a shed notice? Something in me just broke. 15 years of marriage, tours in Iraq where I'd stared down real threats, and seeing Sarah hurt like that lit a fire I hadn't felt since the sandbox. I burst through the screen door, bare feet pounding the porch, my old core tee clinging to me, and I didn't yell or charge wild. I just stood there, posture locked in, voice low and even. "I'm a Marine, fellas. You just assaulted my wife, and that's a mistake you'll regret." Rocco sneered, doubt flickering in his eyes like he knew he'd bitten off more than he could chew. But Lenny, the hothead, lunged anyway, swinging wide like a barroom brawler. I sidestepped easy, years of training kicking in, and he tripped over the hose nozzle, face planting into the sprinkler with a wet smack that dislocated his jaw, leaving him gurgling nonsense, drool mixing with water as he flailed. Rocco charged next, all bulk no brains, and I pivoted, letting his momentum do the work. He slammed into the deck rail, nose bursting like a ripe tomato, blood soaking his vest as he howled, "You broke it, you psycho!" But I didn't gloat, just grabbed my phone, dialed 911, calm as could be. "This is Mike Thompson at 1832 Palm Grove. 2 intruders assaulted my wife. Send cops and medics. They're down but breathing." The neighborhood woke up then, curtains twitching. Old Mrs. Hayes from across the street peeking with her binoculars. Dave from next door freezing mid-wash on his truck, tools clattering. And as Sarah picked up her cracked phone, whispering through her swelling cheek, "Still got it all on tape, Mike." I spotted Rocco's phone in the grass, screen lit with a text. "Boss says use whatever force. Get compliance now." From someone initialed KB. That hit me like a gut punch. This wasn't random HOA nonsense. This was orchestrated, someone pulling strings from the shadows. And as sirens wailed closer, I felt that old combat instinct stir. The one that says this fight's just getting started. Because whoever KB was, they'd targeted my family over petty rules. Probably some power trip born from years of lording over lawns and paint colors in our gated community, where folks like Karen Blackwell, our HOA Queen Bee, thrived on control to mask her own insecurities from a messy divorce and a grudge against anyone who reminded her of her ex, a vet like me. We didn't back down. Hell no. That assault flipped a switch in us, and with Sarah's bruise blooming purple, we started digging, turning our kitchen into a war room with neighbors trickling in, folks we'd barely nodded to before now sharing whispers over coffee. Tom Rivera, the retired detective 2 doors down, showed up in his flip-flops and fishing shirt, eyes sharp as ever after 20 years busting crooks, and he took one look at the video, whistled low. "These clowns are hired guns. Private contractors Karen Blackwell's been using to muscle folks into her rules. I've tangled with her before. She manipulates like a pro, preys on vulnerabilities, debts, secrets, to keep her throne. Then Betty Hayes, the sweet widow with her endless knitting projects, knocked timidly, envelope shaking in her hands, confessing in a tearful rush, "I helped her, Mike. I was lonely. She made me feel needed, had me jot down who parked wrong, who had loud parties. But after seeing Sarah get hit, I couldn't. Here, her ledger, full of dirt on everyone." We spread it out. Pages of neat script. Dave Larson, overdue fines 1-800ers, leverage his custody fight, Rivera, noise complaints, fixed income weak spot. Even us that shed nitpick tied to my vet status labeled military ego, break it. It burned me up inside. This web of extortion disguised as community guidelines. Karen's way of clinging to power after her ex left her humiliated, channeling that rage into dominating our little slice of suburbia. But we had proof now, and when we hit the courthouse in Polk County, the air thick with that sterile tension, Sarah in her power blouse looking fierce despite the fate of her bruise, things escalated. Dave took the stand, hands trembling, avoiding our eyes as he spun lies. Mike threatened me. If I didn't back him, he'd come after my family, being a Marine and all. His voice cracking but scripted, bought off by Karen wiping his debt slate clean. The gallery gasped, neighbors murmuring betrayal, and my blood boiled, that inner conflict tearing at me, wondering how fear twists good people. But Tom stood cool, played our ace. A neighborhood video from days prior where Dave praised me as a stand-up guy showed real restraint, plus Betty's ledger blown up, black and white proof of coercion. Dave crumbled, sobbing. She promised to erase it all. I couldn't lose my kids. And the judge's gaze drilled into Karen, who sat smug in her tailored suit until then, her whisper to Dave as she passed, "You'll pay for this, traitor," dripping venom that chilled the room. But Karen doubled down. Texts started hitting my phone from burners. "Your wife's at Oak Ridge High, huh? Schools aren't as safe as you think," twisting the knife with her grudge against military types like me, echoing her ex's abandonment, now aiming at innocence to break us. Phase 3 of her twisted playbook. Hit where it hurts most. Public spots for max chaos. Sarah paled, her teacher heart shattering. "My students, Mike, they're kids, how could she?" And we rallied harder. Tom calling in favors for digital traces, Betty spilling more on Karen's ops, until Paul Grant showed up at a dingy diner off the interstate, weathered face under a ball cap. Marine ink faded on his arm, introducing himself as Karen's ex with a grim nod. 15 years with her taught me to keep records. She faked my death in a crash story to save face. But I've got tapes, transfers from HOA funds to her goon squads, drunk rants where she brags about teaching that Marine's wife a lesson, because you remind her of me, unbreakable spines she hates. The community meeting that night was electric, hall packed, air buzzing with fury as we projected the assault clip, the crack of fist on flesh making folks wince, then the ledger naming their own pains, Paul's audio sealing it. Karen's slurred sneer. "Everyone breaks under pressure. Phase 3 will crush 'em." Shouts erupted. "She stole our dues! Threatened kids!" And when the vote came, hands flew up, ousting her in a landslide. But Karen lunged wild-eyed, screeching, "You need me to keep order! Without my rules, you'll fall apart! Phase 3 doesn't stop here! I've got backups you can't touch!" Her matted hair and manic grin turning the room to ice, parents clutching kids as we scrambled into watches, carpool chains, no one alone after school bells. It all crashed in court the next week, gallery overflowing with our allies, reporters scribbling. Tom laid out the video, ledger, Paul's bombshell tapes, and when the bailiff slipped the judge a note, her voice boomed. "The school threat's traced to your phone, Mrs. Blackwell," Karen exploded, shrieking, "Framed, it's him, my ex." But the jury saw through it, guilty on all counts. Harassment, fraud, threats that could have turned deadly. As they cuffed her, she spat one last curse. "This ain't the end. Phase 3's bigger than me." But the room exhaled, cheers mixing with sobs, and outside on the steps, we hugged it out. Sarah whispering, "We did it, Mike." Tom admitting later over beers he'd nudged a text forward from her device to nail the case shut, bending rules to protect the innocent because sometimes justice needs a push against slick operators like her. Our block bloomed after, barbecues under string lights, kids laughing free, Dave pitching in to rebuild fences literal and not, Betty finding real friends in knitting circles. But peace felt fragile when that sold sign flipped, and the new folks rolled in with trucks full of surveillance cams, barbed wire vibes, the husband in shades barking orders, bumper sticker screaming, "Intruders beware." Sarah squeezed my hand that dusk, voice steady but eyes wary. What if Karen's backups are them? Phase 3 in new skin. And as those red lights blinked on across the street, watching us watch them, I wondered if some battles ever truly end, or if they just morph, waiting for the next spark. What do you think, folks? Was justice served, or did we cross lines too? Drop a comment below. Ever dealt with HOA tyrants or neighborhood drama that escalated wild? Share your stories, hit like if this hooked you, and subscribe for more real talk tales that might just mirror your own backyard wars.